Happy New Year, awards watchers. The Golden Globes are right around the corner, but who's really going to win? I'm Daniel Montgomery here with my fellow Gold Derby editors Tom O'Neill, Joyce Eng, and Susan Wloszczyna. Let's start with Best Picture Drama. Marriage Story has the most nominations of any film. It has 6 nominations, but we, experts and editors, and we're all pretty divided on this. So, Tom, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, it doesn't have that key nomination for director. Noah wasn't nominated there. And if you're going to win Best Picture, either drama or comedy musical picture, you tend to need that. The 5 nominees were Todd Phillips for Joker, Sam Mendes for 1917, Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, which is not up for Best Picture in those 2 top categories. Foreign language films are not eligible there. It is up for foreign film. And then Quentin Tarantino and Marty Scorsese. So I think it's smart prognosticator limits themselves to those 4 movies because Parasite is not up for the top award, as they say. And so I would say forget Marriage Story. I think it's between Irishman and 1917 and Joker for drama picture. And I currently have Irishman and I'm tempted to go with 1917. Daniel, help me. What should I do? Should I move off of Irishman and go for 1917? But you have Joker, don't you?
Yeah, I moved off the Irishman. I went on Joker. I think it's the likelier bet than 1917, which I say as someone who adored 1917. It would make me happy to see it win Best Picture Drama. Happier than anything else probably at the Golden Globes. But it didn't get any acting nominations. It wasn't necessarily expected to, but that would have helped. It didn't get a writing nomination. Same thing, wasn't really expected to, but it might have helped. It has the 3 nominations that Dunkirk got: picture, director, and score. It could win score, but I don't know. Just not being present in those other categories makes me skeptical about whether it will win for Best Picture. So yeah, I went with Joker. It overperformed with that director nomination for Todd Phillips. He got that nomination over people like Greta Gerwig for Little Women, Noah Baumbach, as you mentioned, for Marriage Story, Taika Waititi for Jojo Rabbit. So the Globes liked him more than all of those filmmakers. So I feel like Joker to them is more than just the Joaquin Phoenix performance vehicle, and it made tons of money. $1 billion worldwide. It won at the Venice Film Festival, so it has that snob appeal. So I think going off of Irishman is smart, but I'm going off of it to Joker.
Joyce, what do you say here?
I currently have The Irishman, which I think is the safest bet, but I'm probably going to change to Joker, or I really want to change to Joker. I think I have it in second right now, but yeah, I agree with everything Daniel said, and I think we sometimes tend to forget that the Globes sometimes just vote for what they like, and they clearly like Joker. The directing nomination was huge for them, and like last year, they went with Bohemian Rhapsody, and we had heard that they really like Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think a lot of us were just saying oh, they'll just give it to Rami and be done with it, but they're not going to give it picture too, and they did it. And they gave Green Book comedy musical last year, and that was during the height of its backlash, and they didn't care, they liked it. So I could see them going for Joker as well. And the film had a better reception internationally than I think it did here for a host of reasons. But like Daniel said, it won the Golden Lion, and it's the Hollywood Foreign Press. So I think that's something. I think Joker is sort of being underpredicted because I think a lot of people don't want it to win, but I think it's probably in the top 2. Irishman, I think it could. Right now I have Irishman winning, and I don't have it winning anything else. So I could see it being like a 12 Years a Slave or Babel or Moonlight just winning the top prize and nothing else. But I will also say that the Globes need to change their rules and allow foreign language films to be eligible in these top 2 categories, because I think Parasite would win if they were eligible here.
Joyce, Susan, you've been moving your predictions around for Best Picture for drama, right?
That's true. And I had Marriage Story earlier in the week, but I've kind of went back to The Irishman, and you do make sense about the director not being nominated, but I don't know. It's, Martin Scorsese, is basically, royalty in Hollywood, and I think maybe they want to, give this particular award to him this time. I don't know what I forget what.
What's your prediction for director? If you're going,
I was just going to look. Oh, see, I put Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, I think Bong's going to win director.
And I even have Quentin above Martin Scorsese and director.
Yeah.
And I mean, his film's nominated for the comedy, so, he's represented there. But I don't know. It's hard because they gave Marriage Story the most nominations. And so that was kind of what caught my eye initially. But I still think maybe they would like to go with the Irishman. But I don't think he's going to win Best Director.
Yeah, I think I've got Bong winning Best Director also. Director's almost harder for me than picture because, I feel like, I could absolutely be wrong about Joker winning Best Picture, but it's an easier call for me to make than trying to decide what kind of mode of reasoning to go with for Best Director. Like, they could give it to Bong Joon-ho because Parasite is, obviously an international film, and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is full of international journalists. They gave it to Alfonso Cuarón last year. He's a lock for Best Foreign Film, pretty much. But they could also give it to Quentin Tarantino. That looks like it might be their favorite film for Best Picture Comedy. And they clearly love that film. It has 5 nominations, just like The Irishman does. And then The Irishman has those 5 nominations. They nominated it for writing and directing, and so it's and if they want to give it to Quentin or Bong Joon-ho, they can do it in the screenplay category, where Martin Scorsese isn't the writer of The Irishman, so they could go with him there. So I really think that's a really close 3-way race. I'm not going as far as to say that Todd Phillips is in this, because I think whether or not Joker wins Best Picture, I think the nomination is the reward for Todd Phillips for director.
Yeah, my dilemma right now between director and screenplay is I have Bong Joon-ho winning director and Quentin winning screenplay, but I could see it flipped the other way. Like, I feel like they'll probably each get one personal Globe, or like maybe one of them will take both of them. But Quentin's never won director. This is his 4th nomination. He's won screenplay before. But I could see, Bong Joon-ho just being one of, this will be the 2nd straight year with a foreign language director winning directing. And he could win the same 2 awards too, with foreign language film and directing. And then the 3rd nomination was screenplay, which Roma also got last year for Alfonso Cuarón. So yeah, right now I think, I think people love Parasite, and I think since they can't give that movie drama, outside of like foreign language, I think the next best thing for it is director before screenplay. And then I think they might just default to Quentin for screenplay. But I think The Two Popes could be a dark horse in screenplay.
No, it's screenplay.
They've done weird things before, that. And this is the only place so far where The Two Popes has really hit. So I could see them going for that somehow. I'm not going to predict it, but it would not surprise me at all if The Two Popes won screenplay.
It's so cocky, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I could see Two Popes winning. It is the most screenwritery of the nominees. Just like it's literally 2 old dudes sitting around talking for the entire movie. So that really kind of emphasizes the screenplay. So I could definitely see that happening. I am going with Marriage Story there. I think the snub of Noah Baumbach for director might have been partly because they knew they could take care of him for writing, and they sort of look at Marriage Story more as a writing achievement than as a directing achievement. And it is also people, sitting around in rooms talking. It's a very writer-driven film. It's a very character driven film, more than say, something like Parasite or Irishman or Once Upon a Time, which are very visual and stylistic achievements. I could see them going with, if they reward Marriage Story nowhere else, and I think they could give it one or two acting awards as well. I think it'll win Best Screenplay almost kind of as a consolation prize, but yeah, I could see Two Popes winning that. I could see Quentin winning that.
Two Popes not winning Screenplay, number one.
I don't think it's likely, but it could.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would not be shocked if it happened.
No, it's not happening. But these other scenarios we're talking about here where for Screenplay, let's stick with this for a second. Whoops. The nominees are Marriage Story, Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, and Two Popes. Now, this is where The Irishman could pop, but we all have it ranked very low. We don't have it as a screenplay winner. I have Parasite winning as of now. I don't know what to do there.
I feel like the thing with The Irishman screenplay, even though it's adapted from this book, and obviously it's very lengthy, yeah. I feel like people don't really talk about the film as like a writing achievement. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I still right now have a winning adapted screenplay at the Oscars, but I don't think it's like a lock for it at all. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is like an easy one for The Irishman to lose at the Globes. And like it wouldn't mean anything in overall scheme of things if it lost this.
But we have to consider the possibility of upset for Best Comedy Musical Picture by Knives Out or even Jojo Rabbit. Those are comedic movies, outright comedic movies that could benefit from that and the fact that it's competing against dramas.
I do think Best Picture Musical or Comedy, I think the best thing that ever happened to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is that Jojo Rabbit missed for writing and for directing. Like, and they it's Taika Waititi is such a well-known figure at this point, and that film feels very much like a writer-director's voice. So the fact that he didn't get into either of those categories makes me think that the upset for Best Picture might not be that likely. This is another case where I would love to see an upset because Knives Out is probably my favorite nominee in the category, and it's so clever, so creative. It got 2 lead acting nominations, but that's another one where it didn't get a writing nomination. And then talk about a film with showy writing. That kind of twisty, plot mechanics of a whodunit, really, I think if it were going to win, would have gotten in Rian Johnson.
I wouldn't hold that against it because the Globes only have 1 screenplay category. Yeah. Like if it had 2, it would have gotten in. But I think I would love Knives Out to win comedy, but I think Once is winning that. I think the likelier upset for Knives Out is in actress.
Yes.
For
Let's go there.
Ana de Armas.
I've got her winning, Amy, and you've got Awkwafina, right? So handicap that race for us, Joyce. Comedy actress.
I was sort of confident, not totally confident, but I saw a path for Awkwafina to win, 3 weeks ago, basically. But, she didn't get the SAG nomination, which is not really that surprising because they don't really go for foreign language performances that much. But, Knives Out is still killing it at the box office. People love it. It increased 50% over Christmas, at the box office a month in, which is wild. And Ana de Armas is this rising star. She's going to be in a bunch of movies this year. She's in the new Bond, reunited with Daniel Craig. She's playing Marilyn Monroe in this long gestating movie from Andrew Dominic called Blonde. So she's on the rise, and I feel like this could be a moment for the Globes to anoint the new ingenue. But I still have Awkwafina for now because I feel like she's still obviously better positioned for the Oscar nomination. And in like these kind of close races in this comedy actress category in the past few years, the Globes have still defaulted to the person that has a stronger path to an Oscar nomination. Even though Amy Adams didn't win or didn't get a nomination for Big Eyes, she still won the Globe for Big Eyes. And I feel like most people back then were predicting Emily Blunt for Into the Woods. And so I think for that, I'm still sticking with Awkwafina, but I might change it to Anna by Sunday.
Well, the interesting thing about Awkwafina is that for her, this is a more serious role than she's been seen in. So I think she shows more acting ability beyond what she had done with, Crazy Rich Asians and what was the other one she was? Ocean's 8 and things like that. So I think she showed a side of herself, even though it's in the comedy category, that she really can act. And it was it was sort of like Joe Pesci. It was a much more quieter, performance because she was sort of, a fish out of water going back to China. So she moved me in a way that, she hasn't been able to do before. So I'm still sticking with her.
Yeah, the trouble with this category for me is that there's no one in this race who has a very clear, how much support there is for them overall, other than Awkwafina and Ana de Armas. None of the other nominees, their films.
This was very hard to fill out when presenting.
Yeah, and it's so the rest of it is Beanie Feldstein for Booksmart, that film's only nomination. Cate Blanchett for Where'd You Go, Bernadette, that film's only nomination, and she only got in because they were trying to fill the category, and her name is Cate Blanchett. And Emma Thompson for Late Night, which got good reviews, but the box office was a little soft. It came out a while ago. It feels like another kind of nominee to fill out a category. So it really feels like there are only two real nominees here. And it's confusing because The Farewell did have that foreign film nomination, which made it ineligible for Best Comedy or Musical. If it had been eligible, would it have gotten in? If it might not have, so I can't be entirely sure.
And it didn't get in for Zhao Shuzhen in supporting.
Yeah, so it's hard to know which has more support, but she does have the clearer path to Oscar, so that's why I'm sort of defaulting with her, because I feel like if the Globes don't know what to do in this category, they could say let's just vote for what we like, and that could be Ana de Armas because they like Knives Out a lot. Or it could be, Awkwafina, because, maybe they actually did like that the most of all. But that film has been so soft this entire season relative to what we thought it was going to be a few weeks or months ago that I'm also tempted to switch to Anna, but I think I might play it safe with.
Well, one actual Globe voter told me that he was referring to his HFBA colleagues, that they really like Ana de Armas, but they think that she needed one more scene in the movie to be a true leading role. But
it was very much a leading role.
She's in most of the scenes.
Where the role goes. But I just, I don't know what to do, but I think that they're going to go for the new talent. And I think that she has a cool factor that Awkwafina has too. That's true. It could go. I don't know what I'm saying.
None of us do.
None of us do here. Let's switch over to comedy musical actors since we're in the neighborhood. And that's a case of where the Globes could surprise us with Taron Egerton for Rocketman. That's Bohemian Rhapsody would be the equivalent of last year. But this is where I think we're going to see Eddie Murphy pop. I think, and this is where the pressure will be on Eddie to really perform at the podium on Sunday. And if he does his job there and gives his best performance by a Globe winner and resumes his old cool cachet, this could be his path to the Oscar.
I had Eddie, and then Dolomite just got completely snubbed at SAG, and then I switched to Taryn. I think it's between the two of them and Leo. Excuse me. And I currently have Leo in third, just because he's won his past 2 nominations here. So this would be his third straight win in terms of his own nominations. And I don't know. I feel like it's his nomination or possible win is the lowest priority for the Globes, because they could take care of Brad and give Quentin, director for the first time, and then the movie could win. So I have him third, but I could see him winning just because they love him, and this is his 12th nomination. But I have Taryn because he's been working it, and the movie's been out the longest, and he sings. Yeah, he sings, and it's it's a fantasy musical. It's not like Bohemian Rhapsody, which, was in drama last year, and Star is Born, which is also in drama. This is, completely surreal. It's, very ostentatious. And, Elton is campaigning on his behalf, so they could just give both of them Globes on Sunday. And I think I'm just going to stick with that, even though I am, I don't know who to put in second or third, but I think I've settled on, that top 3.
Yeah, I think you might be convincing me. I've had Eddie Murphy for a while. It feels like, they nominated for Best Film, so that's something they might want to give him, Eddie Murphy the award there, and they could go with Rocket Man for Best Song if they want to award that film. Kind of like how it happened with A Star is Born. We thought A Star is Born was going to do a lot better than it did, but it did, win Best Song, and they sort of took care of it there. And now that you mentioned, him working it reminds me a little bit of Aaron Taylor Johnson, this young,
but he's in the perfume too.
British actor who really shakes hands and kisses babies and just kind of campaigns their way to wins, kind of like Eddie Redmayne too. I can't remember if Redmayne won at the Globes, but
he did, because Birdman wasn't comedy.
Oh, that's right. So it has that similar, that charm offensive from this young, up-and-coming, handsome Brit could be the thing. And it's a showy role, the Globes really like actors who play real-life musical figures. They get the Ray Charles, played by Jamie Foxx, Edith Piaf, played by Marion Cotillard, both Cashes and Walk the Line, and of course Rami Malek last year for Bohemian Rhapsody. So he would very much fit that mold. It's nominated for Best Picture. It has more nominations than Dolomite, thanks to that Best Song nomination. So, and like Joyce said, they have, if they want to go Once Upon a Time, they could go with Brad Pitt, who I think is very likely to win Supporting Actor. So if they're sort of playing, spread the wealth, which they don't always do. Remember La La Land, they weren't thinking about spreading the wealth.
Yeah, but I think they learned their lesson from that. So
true. But I could still see. I agree with Joyce. I think it's really close between those 3. But yeah, I might be switching to Taryn.
Can I agree to disagree? Because
no, you may not.
I am, because when you have Eddie Murphy on your show, I guarantee, unless Terrence sings his acceptance speech and hits a high note no one's heard, I'd rather watch, Eddie Murphy get an award than Terrence. Sorry, and I don't think people love that film as much as they were hoping people would love the Rocket Man film. So that's just me thinking.
And don't discount Daniel Craig. When I spoke to a couple Globe voters about these comedy musical races, and heard that one comment about Anna, if she only had one more scene in Knives Out, she would really be the lead, and so they might vote for her in that case. That was an idiotic observation by the person, of course, but in many ways. But that same person told me, but kept deferring to Daniel Craig in the movie, and I hadn't seen the movie at this point when he was going on and on about it. But of course, Daniel Craig, he's the revelation of the movie. And then when I saw the movie and he does that really ham-boned Southern accent that's unbelievable, and I thought, give him an acting award for this. But anyway, he's Daniel Craig.
Clearly, that person did not see Logan Lucky because he basically does like the same Southern accent there.
Oh, okay. Now let's jump over to Best Actor Drama, and this is really, really a killer because it's Joaquin and who else, Daniel?
Adam Driver, I think, is the other big one, but then you have Christian Bale for Ford v Ferrari,
Antonio Banderas
for Two Popes, and Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory. I really do think it's a two-person race between Joaquin and Adam Driver, and at most awards, I think it's coming down to this two-person race. Here, I think it's so slanted by that Best Director nomination for Todd Phillips and how much they clearly love Joker, and of course, I'm predicting it for Best Picture, like I said before. So I feel fairly safe predicting Joaquin for Best Actor here.
Why are you discounting Antonio Banderas so much? They love him.
I mean, the film's up for Best Foreign Language Film, but they didn't love its screenplay. They didn't love Pedro Almodovar for directing, and so I'm not sure that they're going to go for Antonio.
Well, none of us are sure of anything, Dan. These are the Globes.
No, I have Antonio in third, but yeah, like Daniel said, like I think that nomination for Todd Phillips just like once he got that, I was like, okay, Joaquin's winning. But I would love for Adam to win, but
Antonio Banderas has never won a major award for acting, and I think it's a sin because I think he's just, almost terrific in everything he does, commercial fare, foreign films, westerns, whatever have you. And I think he's way overdue to get recognition.
This is his fifth nomination here, and he's never been Oscar nominated. So.
Right. But it's a shame he hasn't gotten more attention in his career. And I think this movie with Pedro Almodovar is very different than their other films that kind of pushed the envelope more. This is very sincere, yet it's not somber.
Well, you're all wrong. Antonio can win. Let me just cut through this. A drama actress. We all either have Renee Zellweger or Scarlett. And this is, of course, ludicrous that you would define Judy as a drama rather than a musical. But it's the same Bohemian Rhapsody situation as last year, of course. But Jack Matthews, the brilliant Jack Matthews, godfather of all us Oscarologists, just wrote a piece for us saying, watch out, don't believe this Renee Zellweger thing. She's really Glenn Close and the wife. We're overestimating the whole situation. Don't go there. Jack's warning. I don't believe that Jack is right here, and I'm sticking with Renee, but who wants to pipe in here? Who's really going to win? Charlize Theron is also nominated, Saoirse Ronan, and Cynthia Erivo.
I think it's between Scarlett and Renee. I tend to feel like, because this is where like they've both been getting nominated everywhere. They've both been pretty safe for nominations, and I think they're both the only two women who are like really kind of locked in for Best Actress nominations at the Oscars. So I think it's between them, but I'm like, we haven't seen that many major wins, like to decide this race, and so many people are saying Renee Zellweger, but I think it's Scarlett. I think it's going to be Scarlett at the Oscars at the moment. I feel like there's not a lot of love for Judy overall.
And what you've just said, Daniel, you just wrote off Charlize Theron completely there. You don't even have her getting a nomination for a guarantee.
No, I didn't say she's not getting a nomination. I said the only two.
You said
I said the only two locks.
Renee.
I will defend Daniel there because I also have Scarlett winning this and the Oscar at the moment. But I do think that, like her and she and Renee are the only two like locks. I think Charlize is like a semi-lock in third. Like I'm not worried about
the Oscar.
Semi-lock. I don't think she's
find that in the dictionary for me. Semi-lock.
She's like a safe third. I don't think she's winning like anything, but I want this comeback nomination for her after 14 years, and I think she's gonna get it. But yeah, I have Scarlett winning this. Like I feel like a lot of these our picks are like very obvious, and the Globes always like throw a curveball somewhere. It could be like maybe Two Popes and Screenplay, but there's usually one in like a big category. Last year we got Glenn. winning this instead of Lady Gaga. 3 years ago, we had Isabelle Huppert winning this instead of Natalie Portman, which like completely took Natalie out. And then it was like Emma's going to win the Oscar. So I think it could come here. And like Renee has 3 Globes. Scarlett's never won. Like, the Globes was the first place to ever nominate Scarlett, the first major organization to nominate her. This is her 5th nomination. She's never won. So
never been nominated for an Oscar.
No, she could get 2 this year. So she's just catching up. So, and I think,
and she has JoJo, of course.
Yeah,
you know,
because like I'm not predicting Marriage Story to win anywhere else. Like I think this could be the place they could give it to her.
Oh,
yeah, I have. This is one acting category.
Nuts.
I just like I mean, at a small organization like the Hollywood Foreign Press, like I don't think it's as big a deal that the film doesn't have any other nominations, but it just feels like it's sort of like The Wife with Glenn Close, where people are only voting for it for her, and you know she has an Oscar and she has several Golden Globes before, so she's not overdue. Like she doesn't have that narrative. She has a comeback narrative. But, you know, Scarlett Johansson never won a Globe, never gotten an Oscar nomination. You know, the year not only of her in both Marriage Story and Jojo Rabbit, very possibly going to get 2 Oscar nominations this year. This year, she also had the final, like, you know, Avengers Endgame. So, like, it's been such a huge year for her, and she does have that overdue narrative, and she's the kind of starlet who awards voters tend to love for Best Actress, like in that, you know, 20 to 35 age range of
she's exactly 35.
Yeah, so she, yeah, like any older is over the hill for Oscar.
You're just talking yourself into this, Daniel. I'm going to hit the brakes and save it from yourself.
Ages ago, I mean. All
right, well, Scarlett is not nominated for supporting actress at the Globes, which is a tragedy because I think she could actually win that category if nominated at the Oscars. I've got J-Lo down here because I think this is the Cher path to victory, where Cher won at the Globes first and then prevailed at the Oscars. Now, Hustlers did not get nominated for Comedy Musical Picture. That's where I would assume it was eligible.
Or for Constance Wu.
Or for Constance Wu, right? But I think J-Lo is the clear winner of the most aggressive award campaigner of the year award. She's everywhere, really, really tub thumping, as they say. So I think this is a J-Lo moment, and I think this is where we'll see their love of superstars. That said, if you're all right about this Laura Dern thing at the Oscars, and I do not think you are, I don't buy the whole Laura Dern thing at the Oscars. But if I'm wrong, and there have been rare occasions in the past where I have been wrong now and then it's Laura Dern all the way here, all the way to the Oscars. But I don't know.
To me, picking Jennifer Lopez and Brad Pitt, it's sort of like winning, you know, the best looking awards winners contention, because who wouldn't want, I want to see Jennifer Lopez accept something.
Yeah.
That is going to be a moment. And the same with Brad Pitt. You know, people are going to stand up and cheer for both of them. And so I think they want to have moments on the show, drunken or not. And I think people are behind these people winning. So Laura Dern is fine. And I think, you know, like you say, she, you know, might do better at the Oscars, but for the Golden Globes, they like a good party, and I think these are who they want to see
party with. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, with Laura, I think she could still lose this and eventually win the Oscar. I mean, I have J-Lo mostly because I want her to win, but I do think she can win. I mean, I'd much rather Laura win for. I mean, I wish she was getting this attention for Little Women more so than Marriage Story. Like, I liked her in Marriage Story, but I really thought she was so much more enjoyable and just like empathetic and sympathetic in Little Women. And I think like all of this attention for Marriage Story, I think it just started because like people saw that she was in a Noah Baumbach film like months ago and started predicting her, and it just kind of.
It's exactly what happened. I agree.
And then this category is kind of weak anyway. Like there's not a lot of. It's like I think she is like, you know, we're talking about locks again. Like she's the only lock in this. Like I could see like a wild J-Lo snub for the Oscars just because they're snobs, you know. But it's hard to fill out the rest of this category. You could have like Scarlett for JoJo. She didn't get nominated here, but she got the SAG nomination. And then you have Margot. She's probably going to get in for Bombshell, but she also has Once. So, you know, it's like Oscar was going to like cancel her out. And then you have like Kathy Bates here for Richard Jewell and Annette Bening, who are sole nominees, just like J-Lo here, but I don't think they're going to get an Oscars. And Nicole Kidman got the SAG nomination. So it's just very fluid here. And I feel like people have just been defaulting to Laura. And she is, you know, so much more respected. And, you know, she, for here, I think she has 4 Globes and she's won 3 of her last 4 nominations. So I feel like the voters could think like, okay, we've like taken care of her, and then just go like a separate way with J-Lo too.
Yeah, I think I have Jennifer Lopez winning this because she's a very Globes kind of pick. I am very wary of Laura Dern. I think, as you know, like Joyce said, you know, people sort of saw she's in a Noah Baumbach movie, and you know, people just sort of started presuming, and then the presumption kind of built upon itself. I do think she's vulnerable at the Oscars, but I also think this could be like an Allison Janney moment where, you know, she starts.
Yeah, like people just like you, and then yeah.
And I think what helps her, yeah, I mean, she also has like 2 roles in the same awards year, like Joyce said as well, which helps. But it also feels like the right actor at the right time, even if it's not a role that would otherwise pick up a lot of awards. Like Laura Dern is a veteran. She's overdue at the Oscars, at least. The Globes love her, so that could be a reason that they give it to her as much as reason that they might go elsewhere. You know, and she's Hollywood royalty. She's been nominated for Oscars twice in the past. She's having a huge TV moment too with Big Little Lies, and her Renata Klein character there, who I feel like, you know, her Marriage Story character resembles a little bit too much, which I think is why it's a little odd to me that this role is picking up so much steam. But just the general overall moment that Laura Dern is having makes me think she could potentially steamroll this, especially if the support for Hustlers beyond Jennifer Lopez is so soft. Like if it ends up like she could be like the Willem Dafoe in Florida Project, where it's like, yeah, she's this overdue legend, but like they're not nominating her for anything else. They're clearly not responding to the film elsewhere. So maybe it's just not gonna be a thing.
This would be a career Oscar win for her, which I mean, I would love to call Laura Dern an Oscar winner. Yeah. I just kind of wish it was for something else.
Yeah, we're gonna look. This is gonna be one of those like George Clooney and Syriana, if she does win for it. Where we're
Except she didn't direct another movie this year, so
yeah. But in the sense that if we're gonna look back on their like career and think, yay, great that they have an Oscar, but they won for that one.
Yeah, well, that's the story of every Oscar winner, right? Brad Pitt. This is the last category, supporting actor. We all have him out in front. We all have him as the presumed can't lose front runner in a way, but that's a dangerous thing to think, of course, in this business of prognostication, because I think there is a path for Tom Hanks to win here, and he's got to win here first, of course, to get that Oscar, because everyone's got to get around Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt has a lot going for him. He's got a lead role, and he's campaigning and supporting, and that almost always is needed to win in supporting. But my problem is he's Brad Pitt on screen. It's not a transformative performance. It doesn't have that snob appeal. And I think he's vulnerable. He's never won an Oscar. He did win a Globe for 12 Monkeys way back in the first part of his career, and has won as a producer, of course, 12 Years a Slave. And his production company was involved with Moonlight. All that said, I'm still going with Brad, but I think there's a real chance for Tom Hanks here. Maybe even, you know,
I mean, they're already getting Tom on stage for the DeMille, so I don't think they're gonna double up. Yeah, I think this is like, speaking of steamrolling, I think this is gonna be like an easy 5 weeks for Brad Pitt. And I like to what you said about you just see him on screen. I think that helps him, because like that's like his best mode, when he's just kind of like easygoing and chill. Like he's not a transformative like Christian Bale type of actor. Like his persona is best. I think he works best as a supporting character, even though this is like, you know, basically a lead role. But I think like you just like him in this movie, and it's just such an easy watch, and he has, you know, such great rapport with Leo and like Bruce Dern and everyone at like Spawn Ranch and Margaret Qualley. And yeah, like he hasn't won an acting Oscar. He won a Globe for 12 Monkeys. So this is, you know, we know they like the film. It has 5 nominations. So I think this is like, even if it once doesn't win anything else, I think like it'll win this for him, and it'll be a way to get him back on stage. And then the Globes can have Jennifer Aniston winning on the TV side.
Everyone will where we're going next with the Slugfest. But
Brad Pitt is the reason this is a comedy, because Leo is suffering through his, you know, career decline, and he's the. I
mean, listen, I felt when Leo yelled at those guys in his robe with a blender of frozen margaritas. So. Right.
I thought he deserved the Oscar just for maintaining his 6-pack. So when he took his shirt off. So I'm all for him winning whatever he gets this season.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll be back in Flash to tell you, Derbyites watching this, is it going to be a Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston winner's night? Stay tuned.